Welcome to this another session of DIVE, that is Design Thinking and Innovation Meetup. We started this around 3 years back, just before COVID, as a platform to generate ideas, discuss ideas on design thinking, design, and innovation in general. We did have several sessions offline in the physical meetup format earlier. Uh, with the COVID, we had to shift this to an online event. And very soon, we'll probably be having a hybrid event. In past, we have had sessions around several sessions on product design, COVID impact on the consumption and consumers, on design thinking, on broader innovation methodologies, um, also touching upon eye tracking and attention design, and of course, design thinking and some subsets of design thinking. We've had some sessions on this. Um, this session is meant to be on decoding a burning topic called UX research. So there are two parts to it. UX, of course, is right now spoken in one breath along with UI. UX UI is the name of the game for aspiring a lot of students in design, irrespective of their specialization. But in general, user experience or UX is right now also an important part of the innovation strategy, irrespective of the domain we are discussing. UI, of course, stands for user interface, but now it is just limited to spoken as just UI. Then the second important part is research. So now UX research is becoming an important aspect of delivering innovation strategy to configure new products, new experiences, new services. Everyone's speaking about UX research, speaking about user experience. We will decode today where is this entire domain of UX, not just UX research. Where is this UX domain is sitting in the pyramid of innovation? Where does it exactly plug into the corporate innovation process? And where exactly does user research pitch in? And how is it different from other existing research formats of consumer research or market research and or design research, so to say? And what is going to happen in future as we see the onslaught of chat GPT taking over the world? Where does research stand in that process? Is it going to go away altogether, taken over by the robots and the machines? Or there'll be some human input will still be needed, and there'll be value to that contribution. With this, let me just share a shorter, around 25 slider presentation. And some of them will go rather quickly, and some of them will stay on for a while. First of all, understanding the entire context of in which context are we talking UX research or user experience research? What's changing around? Which context are we immersed in? I run a company connected to this field, but I never looked at the definition of this field. So I just happened to look at the definition while preparing for this for this event. User experience or UX research is a study of learning what the users of a system or product need and want. So it's about learning what people want and then employing those insights to enhance the product, services, or software. Sounds pretty simple. And if you go to a market research company, they'll also say the same thing. There is probably nothing different. That we learn for consumers what they want, needs and desires are, needs and wants are. And market research can go at length till cows come home, what needs and wants, how they are different. Well, keeping that argument till there, and we'll figure out how they are different and where they are same. First of all, when we say consumer and when we say user, we probably mean not the same people. So market research uses the word consumer, who consumes, but the user research or the design, wherever the design entered or design lexicon entered, they started using the word user. And that's what is, a child can be a user, or the guy who's buying a ticket on the airline platform, or crane operator who's using the crane, all are users. Not only the crane operator who's using the crane is a user, but is also the crane owner is also a user. The guy who is standing by the crane, the cleaner, is also a user. So user is actually a composite word in this context, and in fact it is a chain of users. It's a composite cohort of people who are coming in touch with the product or service. That is the user we are talking of, and what is their wants and desires is the question we are addressing. So this sounds so far so simple, okay? And where is it happening? It is happening in the, today we are in the middle of fourth industrial revolution, which is another cliched market right now, business lexicon, which has entered, that they're passing through a fourth industrial revolution, which essentially means that when we are talking of users and consumption, or consumers and consumption, we are talking in the fourth stage. First stage came when the steam engine and the basic automation of things happened. Products were made not by hand but by machines. Second came in when the electricity powered entire revolution started happening, and the products were shipped far and wide. Third revolution actually happened when the computers came in picture, and it was not just mechanical innovation, but further smarter automation of things started happening, and which was around 70s onwards till today it was happening. Fourth industrial revolution talks of slightly more complex things. It is not just mechanical automation, but it goes beyond, and decision automation has started happening. Now, how decision automation started happening, we have already seen some very early examples through using chat GPTs. What is happening? That give me a travel itinerary. I mean, yesterday I used an app using chat GPT, based on chat GPT, and it can create an itinerary for you for travel plan in any city. So that kind of revolution is happening. Interesting thing is not to share this part because this is pretty cliched. What is happening is the connected diagram, which is also somewhere from internet I have taken. And it is how the design revolution has gone along with this. Where if you see, there are two parts to the two circles have been put, which is say the design 1.0, which is where the sense making versus a strange making has been in the early craft days, where you already understand who is the user, what does he want. If I live in a village and I create things, I know what does the person want and what kind of shoes he or she wants. The strange making, what kind of new shoe I can make, how can I make it different, was the entire game about. As we proceeded through these three revolutions, the size of the sense making started becoming bigger and bigger because the user or consumer moved away from the production. Today, what we make, we don't know who is going to use. We are making in India and iPhone in India, and we don't know who's going to now use it across the world. So making part became easier and easier, and that is why you see today copies of iPhones floating around with different brands, and almost every other product in Android space looks like an Apple product with rounded corners. So making, a strange making, or the making itself is no longer an art, but sense making. What can be done to this user group and this target group or this user, that is becoming a bigger game today. So we are part of the fourth industrial revolution, where decisions making is becoming easier through the use of AI, but is also what kind of decisions to be made is a bigger task. Okay, so that is where the lot of moral and ethical questions are also coming up in this, and that's where some of the new challenges for chat GPTs or AI actually lie in future. Another change which is happening in front of us right now is this is a picture from a consumer electronics show. And you see the Sony stall in front, and there is a car displayed here. Now, this is where the car display should have been in a car show, auto show, but it is now going to a consumer electronics show. Now, this is the new age where the borders between physical and digital are melting, between automotive and consumer electronics are melting. Each, all of us, whatever car we use already, even if we are not using a Tesla or a super sophisticated car, at least 100 different sensors are already in place. So car is becoming an electronic gadget more than an automotive or just a petrol engine. Then we also see the boom of right now, the data boom which is happening because of the IoT devices. We also see the rise of SaaS, the software as a service, which is right now a big thing happening. And that's how the cloud market, as you can see, is growing. So products are becoming services, and services are being productized more and more. So with this, the boom of IoT is also around 50 billion devices are supposed to be IoT enabled by 2030. And that is causing a huge amount of data. All this data we watch today from Netflix to YouTube, on the back end, they are generating some petabytes of data. 90% of data what we have today was just created 2 years ago. So that's the kind of growth we are seeing of data in the world, and that is creating some sort of heady mix where products are not products anymore, products are services, services are not services anymore, they're just experiences, or experience are being productized. So we don't know really where the one thing ends and where the second thing starts. And I would like to call it, this is a triple point of business, which is we are seeing a triple point of water we see. But triple point of business is basically where product, service, and experiences are merging into each other. Of course, I have just put some degrees and bar. That's the pun for it. But yeah, the point is that in such a triple point, we need some different science to understand what's happening with the consumer or user, and that's where the standard marketing techniques or whatever we understood so far didn't really work. And that is where the new domain is taking shape, which is user research. So let's take a slightly deeper dive into the user research and what we mean in this new context of triple point. So far, a product is a box. Earlier, if person could make a product which could be shipped, like a box shipped product, people were very, very rich. People would be say, okay, we are a owner of a factory, become a vendor to a large company, and the life is set. Okay, all you need to do is ship out more products. Now, no longer. A product like this, what you see, a digital product, order a food. Okay, and now you see the lot of data points on this. There is reviews, there is time, money, food, dishes, a lot of things are there in this. Each one of them is a decision point. A single screen is a multiple decision point for all of us to order a single thing. And imagine that screen after screen, there are multiple decision points, even though you're not deciding on each one of them, but you have to keep at the back of mind that, okay, I'm onto the page which is only vegetarian dishes, or I'm onto the page which is all 4+ reviews. Multiple decision point, just using one product is becoming a series of micro episodes of decision making. This was never the case. Earlier, I had to buy a Lux soap. I would go and purchase a Lux soap. I mean, what is there to be decision to be made? It's a part of my budgeting sheet. Every month, a middle class household will make a sheet and buy a Lux soap because there's none other, or maybe two other, and I've made up my mind on Lux. Right now, there are 10,000 things. And the journey starts not going to the market, but even deciding whether you want to buy from Big Basket or XYZ or Blinkit, or go and purchase it, or order it on phone with the shopkeeper. Each of the decision point is also filled with. So even if I see these different decision points of using one product is further a molecule, and each molecule further can be exploded into micro decision point. So that's the kind of complexity we are running at every on a everyday basis, whatever we do. Each of these micro decision point, or a explosion of, or a molecule of micro events, has certain reactions from the user. We know that, okay, it's a sequence of 15 operation, but the fourth operation I don't like. And there have been umpteen number of research which talk of that even in the sequence, even if one micro event goes bad and it leaves you with a bad review. If the movie was good and the picture hall was good, seats were comfortable, but the popcorn was bad, and you get a bad review. So we are running into those kind of users, those kind of times, and that's where the consumption of a product has become very, very complex. A car journey, for example, will have, as you know, buying a car is a complete sequence of events, as we saw. So each one of them has a potential micro episodes, or atoms, as we can call, built into them. So, and each one of these together is connected to one frame of mind of a user. So this specific user who is passing through this experience is also likely to have a different frame of mind if we change the user. Different users will have different frame of mind. Over the period, these frame of mind will change, which we call mental models. So now we have a complex scenario where the complexity of is multiplying uh, with the number of users or number of user segments, the kind of complexity of product added over a period. And these influences, what we talk of mental models, they get impacted by, it's not somebody's whims and fancies as we think the user is deciding, but user is getting impacted by the external forces of technology, social trends, regulation. And then this sequence of events, what person is going through, whether I would like a vegetarian food on this panel today or not, or whether I'm okay with the 4.2 rating, or I need actually a 5 plus rating, 5 rating, or I'm okay with 3.5 rating. That depends on how the person is guided by the surrounding. So this kind of decision making is making the things very, very complex, and that is where the conventional mapping techniques of understanding the needs and wants are not working, because they are in different stages, and at every stage the mental model is changing. This is where we had to introduce a new tool which is called design thinking. And design thinking became the differentiator for this kind of finding, and that's where the user research has an anchor point or anchor method, which is design thinking built into it. Market research doesn't really approve of doing the quick prototyping and testing. Market research says, okay, here is one set of protocol you have to understand the users, run it by all the users, and get the standard output, and that's your finding. But looking at the complexity we just saw, we require small inputs to be prototyped and quickly tested. That, to grasp the complexity and the fleeting complexity very quickly. So that is why the design thinking's agile model, or this rapid testing model, came in handy, that even to understand what is the users, what is really the user want, what is the real mental model. We would require a new kind of method which will be pretty nifty and agile. So design thinking became the mainstay of this method, and that defined the user experience in the complete new paradigm of fourth industrial revolution. Now, another element to understanding the user research is these multiple terms which float around: UI, UX, and CX. Also, we has entered. BX has thankfully not entered the mainstream right now. UI, so this is one manifestation. There are some confusions around how this entire architecture is connected to each other. Definitely, at least people agree that UI is a subpart of UX. UI is user interface, which relates to the graphic or visual display of information. UX deals with the structure of the entire information at a information architecture level. Normally, it is also you can say synonymously referred as wireframe making after understanding the business briefs. CX goes at customer experience level, and BX is brand experience, but we're not even going there. For us right now, let's say CX and BX are same. IT world has taken on UX and UI to be their mainstay. Non-IT world is happier with the word CX, customer experience. You go to a dealership of a car company, they would talk of customer experience and not user experience, or probably mix them up in some ways. So customer experience is becoming a more familiar term for the non-IT world. Now, how does this entire complex of CX, UX, UI fit into the broader innovation paradigm? Another orbital diagram, which is just my thinking how it is working. UX or user experience model business right now is around $8 billion around the world. I think it has a large overlap with the entire design thinking business also. There is large practitioners of design thinking have come up now. Industries, IT industries have trained people by hordes. Market research has a large overlap. Market research is itself is supposed to be $80 billion industry. 10 times the user experience industry is market research industry. Then I also checked on what is the overall design industry, which also account for the engineering design, chip design, those kind of design. If those taken together, which is pretty big, by the way, is probably 20 times the size of user experience industry. So I would say this is a sub part of that in a way, which is in turn part of the bigger business and innovation strategy market. So that's where somewhere the UX market is right now sitting. Large overlaps are happening with the market research. And of course, a lot of terminology is being borrowed from market research, from design thinking and design, apart from a lot from the way IT industry has evolved in terms of lean and agile methods and scrums, and so some bits are also taken from that part. In terms of this is also a very typical diagram of how a new idea grows, a life cycle of a new idea or a new business, that it goes in the product leadership zone. When the new idea is launched, there are fewer as the time progresses. X-axis is time, and then the money you make or the users you gain on the Y-axis. Initial part is product leadership, where people don't really care much about the experience so much as the core functionality. It's only at the customer intimacy zone, as it says, when the market is maturing, more people have jumped in. That's where the experience starts really playing out. A startup makes a minor mistake of a button here and there can be excused. A new electric vehicle is still a good category established right now. You make a minor mistake of UX, it's still excused as long as the core functionality is being delivered. but that's not excuse in the middle zone, which is where the maturity has already happened. I would say the right now the food ordering business is becoming pretty mature, or ticketing business of airline is pretty mature business right now. Or people want tuck 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 things to happen. Nothing can be excused if you make a minor mistake there or no information least. So this is also that how and which zone the UX is playing an important role. Then we come to then if this is the context of UX research, then what is the future? Uh, Now that we are heading into the AI zone, what is the future for this? Um, I also put a question to Chat GPT and I got this answer. What is the future of design profession? Forget about user research. So of course, the words are familiar, which appear from Chat GPT. User-centered design experience is the future. There may be a growing demand for designers who are skilled in the areas as data visualization and user research. So we're not too off. User experience research is pretty much is what ChatGPT also likes to be the future. And then there are some woke terminology of sustainability, social responsibility, etc., etc. Okay. On the other hand, apart from the digital revolution, which is anyway walking in, we also have something else changing. It's not the just the AI which is speaking. We have different revolutions which are going. Genetic engineering revolution is happening right in front of us right now. You can see a mini tiger, genetically modified cat. It's a reality. It's not a fake image. People are buying digital currencies, paying real money and buying digital tokens on Reddit, by the way. There is a space sciences revolution taking place, which is Asgardia, in case you've heard. There is a nation created online, space nation supposedly, people who are citizens of the space nation, and supposedly some 250,000 people have registered to be a citizen of this nation with a separate civil code applying to them. 11,000 Indians are also registered there, incidentally. So these are new hybrid realities which are coming, which we never faced earlier. The current food crisis, which will also result into that entire GMO thing becoming our savior. Something which we have never faced earlier. The entire metaverse revolution, which is right now unfolding in front of us. Right now, we were at Turian, we were discussing some metaverse for a bank. And the brief to us is that we don't really know what is the use case for metaverse, but we want it. Now, this is where the dating is starting with the new technology, but they don't know what is the use case. And how will the UX play a role in a metaverse? It's not even a well-studied phenomenon, whether the same rules will apply or we'll have to change the rules. Heuristic will change, or it'll evolve to a complete different set, or it's just a natural extension of what we are doing in the digital 2D world. So these new realities are actually posing a new challenge for us. New moral questions will come in. And that's where the game becomes interesting. And it's also the future where what kind of role a UX researcher will play will expand in its ambit. Design doing and design thinking has already become, we have spoken, is two different stream. This is especially for the designers who have joined this call. There's anyway two streams. The forking has happened of the design field. Those who can do the doing part well, or the physical part well, shaping physical things well, versus shaping the cognitive things well, where a lot of dematerialization and democratization has happened, and a lot of experimentation and business models are walking in. So that is the new context of UX we are talking of. In my view, what happens in future is eventually, it's like the COVID protocol, which was of keeping hands clean. A situation demanded a new way of living, of keeping hygiene in place, and slowly it became a part of our lives, where most of us, okay, masks are gone, but maybe washing hands is still on. and we are aware that something like this should remain. UX will eventually nibble from the current market research domain a lot, and it might become a standard part of market research, or vice versa. I would say the market research will become part of UX. From our practice point of view, we already see qualitative research is no longer the equivalent in UX research, but people are asking for mixed methods. In UX research, also mixed methods are walking in, where quantitative is anyway walking in. If quantitative research is walking in the UX research, then we are anyway seeing the beginning of the end of the conventional market research. So it's a big sentence, which I am right now, a big statement I'm making, but that's how I see from the practice point of view. Digital transformation, which is it will merge into with the Web 3.0, and we just spoke of some of those disruptions. It'll need further different phase of UX research front, and we will see some evolution there. UI will be, it's given that AI will take it over completely, probably. At the most you can do is a marginally better guidance to UI, how to create screens better. But already there are paid software which are generating screens. You just show a sketch and it'll give you a complete wireframes. I have seen the death of the HTML programmers, so-called HTML programmer or web programmers earlier in past career. We'll see very soon the death of this profession, which is called UI design. User research will be aided to reduce the drudgery, transcription, translations, keywording. A lot of this drudgery will be removed by AI. Already there are some tools. Brand sciences will pick up this UX language right now. They're picking up, but in terms of the overall targeting, positioning, all will pick up some of the UX language. They'll become more agile, in so to say. And I also see that UX researchers, which are right now limited to product startup, tech startups only, or tech organizations, they will become a mainstay in market research agencies for obvious reasons spoken about, and manufacturing companies, which only right now know market research or a product designer as broad categories, or a design as a broad category. Manufacturing companies and the management consultancies, of course. We have seen already management consultancies have gobbled up a lot of design companies, but I think UX research is the new place to nibble into. So this is all I had to share today, and I'm good to take questions from the participants. You can type the questions in the comment box, or since we are on a interactive medium, if you raise hands, and I can also address that way.
Thank you for the great presentation. So I had a question about mental model.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are talking about mental model, so what we think is there is a defined user's mentality about it. Certain way something should be look like, or certain way the button should click that way. So what if we want to when we are designing something, we want to move to the user to on a different way? So how do we approach it, make it more user friendly for the user, to create a different mental model for them?
So creating a different mental model is easier when you are in a power seat.
Okay.
Or you have a lot of money to plonk it that way.
Okay.
Either you are sitting in an Apple
Yeah.
designer seat, then you say, this is the way I behave, or
Yeah.
this is the way we want you to behave.
Yeah.
And people fall in line.
Okay.
So great part about human nature is that we are pretty resilient.
Mm.
We get used to the shapes like Maruti Ritz also,
Right.
after a point.
Yeah.
And we start liking it.
Okay.
A bad UX also, people get used to it. We get used to the IRCTC website, and we get used to it.
True.
Uh, But if there are options, then people become smart and they have comparison.
Yeah.
So the easier way is to follow the established
Hmm.
uh, ontology or established way of doing things.
Hmm.
That certain things are done by burger button, so you do by burger button.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Certain things are so if the tap, uh, a simple thing is like bathroom taps.
Hmm.
We so many times all of us have struggled with the different hotel taps. Like we don't know how it works.
Yeah.
It is push or pull or lift or grab hand or all this kind of things.
Yeah.
People are trying to change the mental model and it takes a while, and then you wonder whether this is called luxury experience or not.
Okay. So it's, I think, for me it was related to product too. So if I'm starting a business, new business, and it's different from the current view. It's not currently the way in India has been current India has been doing it. So that's what my question was related to, moving forward to that. So I'm trying to build something new that has not been introduced in India.
Hmm.
So how do I approach Indian public?
Giving drastic
Yeah.
shifts people don't like.
Yeah.
You're a newcomer, give
Yeah.
gentle nudges only.
Okay.
Gentle nudges should be as much as how a Honda Activa model, one model differs from the new model. That's
Okay.
a gentle nudge.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
If you change it drastically, people. So first you come into the flow, and then you try to change the course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Once people start liking your product, next version you can make it slightly more experimentative or different.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. Like Zara. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nitya says, how can UX researcher evolve their skills to become more useful in the future? How do you see a future UX researchers taking assistance of AI to do the work more efficiently? Of course, I think there's no way out. If a UX researcher is not using AI today or tomorrow, I think they will be falling out. So wherever wherever our drudgery can be helped, the the long drawn work can be helped by some tool or technique, we must do it. And finally, focus on sense making. That's the core work. Interpretation, sense making, the good plan is the work. Everything in between can be automated. And definitely, so if you spend some time, every UX researcher should be spending some time on figuring it out on how to become better using tools. Okay, so that's how I would see this question going. Does it help? Thank you. Rizwan says, as UX designer, should we focus on reducing the number of decision points that user has to go through? Of course. If you can bring the decision point to zero, do that. If we don't do it, AI will do it. Some places, in fact, there was a service I had come across, interesting service in Europe somewhere, which decides on your behalf which restaurant to go to on a weekend with your family or friends. Okay, you subscribe to this service, and the decision of where to go, what to order, where to sit is always a pretty long one, long drawn one. You subscribe to this service and it decides on your behalf, orders the Uber on your behalf at certain time. You have to get into the Uber and land at that place where it'll have booking done for you and your whatever friends, family, and the menu ordered also, reducing the decision points to zero on the weekend. Uh, that's the role UX designers should have of removing decision points, because the life is going to just become more complex, and AI is just coming handy to reduce some of those points. Other questions, connected questions, moral, ethical, those things, of course, will keep evolving.
We were just trying to make information accessible faster, right,
Hmm.
to the customers and from different points. And what we realized is that we had to go through a complete re-architecting of our software. The underlying architecture had to be almost completely overhauled, right? And that's a I mean, it's like a very big decision you take, right?
Mhm.
To just
True.
meet a UX requirement, right? So
Mhm.
the cost can, expand dramatically if you want to, deliver a certain UX, and you have to go back to the drawing board and do that work, right? And it's like often, the UX is just layered upon the top of whatever is already there.
Mhm.
Isn't that something that I mean, what's your experience been on this? I mean, like, do people try to patch the UX on top, or how serious are they to go in and do the design changes and
No, ideally, it should be happening through the UX research onwards. Even if you have an existing patch library patches or existing framework available, but if you go through the UX research route, you will realize that which one requires an overhaul, or the entire thing requires an overhaul. Whether to do it in stage one or stage two or stage three is your choice. But the first, going up from the first principles is the way to go forward. Cosmetic changes one can keep doing, but that's not the lasting solution. So in my mind, that we have to go user research upwards, and then take a decision whether it really makes sense in the current situation or not, or stage it if you wish.
yeah, I think that works quite well. It's like agile has to kind of go
Yes.
along with it, right? So it's like
True.
yeah.
All right. Srija says, what advice would you have to share for UXR, especially those staying off in the careers? How much should they think about the big picture? Starting off in the career, sorry, it's not staying off, starting off in the careers. Strategy for the product versus research rigor, practicing learning the craft. How and when should one start to consider strategy in their approach to scoping the research in hand, from the beginning or a little later in their career path? So my advice is that day one you enter user research, if you think you are a mere researcher, you are on a faulty foot. Unless somebody is open to the idea that my world is a strategy world. If that is not the case, and that doesn't take away the doing rigor of conduct right methodology and learning the craft, it doesn't take away that. In fact, it enhances that. But having the big picture right in the beginning, or starting from that, is a good practice if you are walking into the research field. Thinking that I'll first do research for 5 years, I'll only do research, then I'll open my mind to the strategy world, is a folly. It doesn't work that way. Okay. So if you are joining the Prime Minister's office and you say that I don't want to have a big picture in mind right now, I just want to see a small picture, doesn't happen. By saying that you are in this field, UX research, it is a directly, intimately connected field to the strategy. And more often than not, at least with the new age startups or of the Elon Musk kinds, UX has to speak the strategic language all the time. UX research has to speak the strategic language all the time. So at that level, they're not worried whether you did 5 interviews of users or 3 interviews of the users. What you took out of that, how does it connect to my business strategy? That is what you need to tell. And that is not somebody else's job. That's, if you are looking for an interpreter who will translate uh, your designerly babble into the corporate mumbo jumbo, I think we are losing the entire game. So right away is my advice. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining, and it was good to have chit chat after the session. So I know that how much is uh, the point has been made across.
I think if there are no more questions, we can close this session. And I think Srija has given a good pointer to what I wanted to come next. I think Manoj also said that with the growth in this UX industry, there is a huge demand of UX researchers. So Turian Labs has like recently started an initiative called Turian Academy, and we have launched our first course on UX research. It's a comprehensive 8-week long course. And Srija, we also focus on the broader context of where UX fits into, the business innovation, and we start from there to the rigor of doing the research to understanding the project management as well. So do check out. I will share the link here. One sec. And if you need more details, please reach out to me. My details are there on the website. Great. Thank you guys so much for
Thank you.
joining.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mukta. Thank you, Manoj.
Yes. Bye bye. Have a good evening.